Hey crew, what's going on? We're live again with this part 3 of setting up our. Uh, Let me just click on here and on here. Next time, I promise it'll be ready. I thought it was ready. It's just my link died because I had to restart my streamer, my OBS. I think it's working now. And yeah, we're live. Awesome. Welcome to part 3 of building out our messaging app. And I'm just going to go over what we've done so far. Hitting the preview. Let's go. Yes. Almost ready. Because this requires a password, I forgot. And then go here, design. We're going to go app data, and we're going to run as a user this time, who's not a super user. And yeah, so what we've built out so far is basically a contact form, and it tells their users that we're in open beta and allows them to drop some support tickets and stuff. Where's my picture? Oh, it's just not done loading yet. Okay, and then you have messages here that should appear, and we're going to hide them and show them based on whether or not we find any messages here for the user to see. This is new 11 at new.com help, and messages is this is the newest support message. Okay, so in this particular it's funny that this input has a better email checker than our data creation one, because if we go new entry, we can actually write whatever email we want and it'll store properly. But if we go to the actual app itself, it's got a better checker and it doesn't allow this actual email to submit. But if you use Gmail, it'll allow you to submit. Anyways, new 11, this is the newest support message, and then this is the add-on message. And as we had discovered last time, new 11 has a picture already, so the picture shows up, the name of the user shows up, and then you basically type in whatever messages you want, and you can add them to a thread that we create here. And in order to create a new support thread, we do this way, so at gmail.com, and that's the next one. And then we can add messages. And then we wanted to do like a sort of a timer. So if the support is online, we want the support to receive a notification on their own app. And if 15 minutes has elapsed since the sending of the message and the admin still hasn't seen the message, I would like them to receive basically a notification through their email. So we're going to be building that out today. And I did want to finish the discussion between creating something in real time or creating something immediately. And then I wanted to add a little picture display here if I were to add screenshots. Okay, so we're going to start with the screenshots because that's the easiest thing. We're going to come here, we're going to go rows. We're going to reduce this so that we have more room to work with. Let's go to 3. Let's actually go to 2. And then let's grab a group. Here, group, and let's basically put this here, and I'm going to show you some cool wrapping techniques, responsive wrapping techniques for repeating groups, because this group is the content of the screenshots, and after the message, if there are screenshots, we're going to make this visible. And the way to do this is current cell support messages files count is not 0. Okay. This element is visible true, and otherwise we're going to make it invisible and we're going to collapse it. Okay, so what that says is when I load the page, this doesn't show up. So if I reload this page right here, you'll see, look at all the space that we have between the two messages here. And if we come here and we select this, there isn't that much space between those messages, right? Not as much as we have here, and that's because this element collapses. And if this element collapses, it's basically as if it weren't there. And the space that we have between the two messages will remain as if this wasn't here. But if there are files, as we will list here, this one has files. And I'm going to upload, whoops, I have to refresh before I can use it. This one, if it has files, it's going to actually show the group, and there'll be a space for them. to appear in the message. Okay, so let's click on here and let's go, this one has files, and let's upload just 2 pictures here, this one here and maybe this one here. Who doesn't like horses? So, and then this one has no files, and this one should appear roughly here, I'm predicting. And here it is, right? So because this one has files, this group now shows up, okay? We're gonna give this a little bit of a color so that we can see what's going on, and we're gonna grab another repeating group, and this group is going to display the files. Now, it's a little bit tricky in terms of which files are allowed or not allowed, but I can make this square, so 165 by 165, and then I can go no max width, I can go rows 1, and I could check columns 1, and I could say allow more than 1 column when stretched. That means if this comes all the way out to the end here, I could ideally or technically have 1, 2, 3, maybe even 4 columns displaying this in the repeating group here. So let's go responsive and let's show it because we have to show it to be able to see it. And here we have to go collapse when 4100 right here. It doesn't, as long as this number collapse is greater than the max width of the blue group, then it'll always collapse into its parent, and it'll always be the same size as it'll always have all of this room to display the amount of files that it needs. Okay, so then we have that, and finally we want an image because we assume that the files that the user will be submitting will be images. Now the image itself, Control Z, is going to be 165 by 165 as well. And this one will keep the element proportions. I think that's a little bit wide because if we only have 3, they'll be quite wide. And we also want a little bit of margins on either side. So we want 10 on either side and 10 on either side, bringing us to 145 for the actual image, center horizontally, center vertically. And we could say that dynamic image cancel will be insert dynamic data. And we could say current cells thing I see. So this will be a text. And we're going to grab parent groups thing, which is going to be a support message, right? Because that's what we're loading in this cell. So parent group support message. And now we take the message, we send it up to here. And then we show this only when current cell support message files count is not 0. So when we do have files, we'll show this group. And then this repeating group will load parent group support messages files or files URL as well. You could grab URL. But basically that's what files does, is it'll grab its URL, which is a text, and pass it up to here. So here I'll have 3 texts because I uploaded, or 2 texts, or however many pictures as texts I have. And then here I can go parent groups current cells text for the dynamic image. And I can also say process with ImageX, I think. Where is it? No, I can only process with ImageX if it is a picture already, and we know that. So what we could do is say this is an image, and it could be parent group support messages files, and current cells image can be processed with ImageX. As you can see here, we want the quality to be 100, and we do not want to resize by cropping because we want to adjust element height. Basically what we want is the file to be shown in full directly within the message. Another way you could do that is to crop it here, and when you click on it, show it in a pop-up in full view. But I think that this way I'll just leave it like this for this MVP here, and that'll be fine. Okay, so now what we've managed to build out so far is this support message. This collapses in, and then we're going to have a number of images show up. So just like this out of the box, I think it should work. Let's take a look. Let's scroll down to here. Let's grab the support message and load more. This one has files, and look, there are our files. We have 2 of them. They are square naturally, and instead of vertical scrolling on this, we actually want a full list, and that way we're going to get rid of the scroll bar, and we're going to make this take up all of the room. And yeah, so basically now, and the other thing I don't like is the fact that 20 between pictures is all right, but I want this picture to align on the left here, so it aligns with the text as well. And then we can obviously center it vertically. And yeah, now you're able to add screenshots to your messages. Very simple, but if you have a file uploader, you need to process which files are allowed. You could use a picture uploader, which will only allow your user to upload pictures. I like to use file uploader because what if they want to upload a screencast or something, but also make sure that you limit the file size. And if you have a limited file size, people won't be able to spam your app with a bunch of different unusable or you know, it'll prevent some kinds of attacks. So it's always good to have. Not necessary, but good to have. The other thing I realized I didn't like was the separators. I want none here and I want none here. Okay, just so the messages align. And the next thing I want to do is grab this, okay, and group elements into a group. All right, and this group will be a number. No, it can't be a number. I need to store a number somewhere. Where am I going to store the number? Because I want this group to not be visible on page load and to only appear if the previous group's message is not the same as the previous one. So you go when current cells index is 1 or, and then we need a number group, okay? And this is a little bit tricky because I don't know where I'm going to put it. Probably here. Hard to say. It needs to be inside, okay? And this is a trick, and it's kind of unfortunate that I haven't found a way to do this without adding an additional UI element. But if you can make this UI element do something, like have a background color, let's say, and do something visual, then it makes it useful. But otherwise, you do need it as a number, okay? And number is current cells index, and then you go -1, I guess. So I basically want to grab this current cells index, and then I want to check it against the previous cells index, and I want to see if the creator is the same. If the creator is the same, I don't need this header here. I want this to start, and then have all of the messages 1, then 2, 3, 4, 5. And I've done, you know, for production ready, I've done before that. It also checks the creation date and makes sure that it's within 10 minutes of the last message sent as well. But I find that added a lot more weight than necessary, so I think I'll just do, if it's the one user who sent it, then that's what I'm showing. And if it's a different user, then I'll show a different header again. So current cells index is 1. It'll always appear on 1. Or this repeating group, okay, so let's get the name of this repeating group. We're going to call it RG all messages. And we're going to say this repeating group cell, but item number, the previous one, is the same creator as this cell's message. Okay, I hope that's clear. We're going to go, if it's not, leave it in the chat. And do we have anybody watching right now? Let's go see. Yeah, there's a few people watching. So if you guys didn't understand anything that I say, basically just put it in the chat and say like what, or please explain that better, or something like that, and I will. So now we're grabbing this and we're saying if it's 1 or RG that we just said, all messages, list of support messages, item number, and then group number, because we can access it here, group number, which effectively is this cell's number -1. Okay, so we're pulling the item prior to this. Item number, group number, and I should number, and then its message, right? It's supposed to be a support ticket. No, creator, sorry, is not current cell support messages creator, then this element is visible true. And let's check that out. And basically, essentially what it should do if it worked is it should remove this header. Oh, but the message is inside, I see. That's unfortunate. That's really unfortunate. Because it won't show the message itself. Okay, so message has to go inside of group number instead of inside of, and then we're going to run into alignment issues. I already know the center horizontally, parent group's number, no. But we can say that this is group support message, and then we're going to go target just so I can select the proper one. And then we're going to go align this 22, 1, 2, and then holding down Shift 1, 2, 3, 4 to align them perfectly. And yeah, let's remove this color mostly just so I can show you what the differences are. And then let's make sure that there are no overlapping elements by bringing this basically to here. Otherwise, if you have overlapping elements and you're trying to shrink stuff, it's not going to work at all. And this is where we run into sort of this issue. So I'm going to make this a little bit smaller at 30 by 30 and touch the top here. And the name will align to the picture and the message will come after, which is not ideal, but is better than the alternative. So let's have a look. And there you go. So you have new 11, and then you have all of new 11's messages. Okay. I don't know why this guy didn't show up. Oh, yeah, there you go. This guy will still show up. Now we just need to make sure that the message is visible here. And currently it's parent group's number, so we can't just grab parent group. We have to go target, support messages, and the actual text. And let's take a look at this, and it should basically load our messages based on who wrote the message here. Now, as we did last time, new 11 will load. This is the add-on messages. This one has file, this one has no files. And if I keep writing, in caps, keep writing, it should just add another message below here until the actual user changes. If the user changes, this group will appear. So let's go here and let's remove this color and go to none, and then go data, app data, and run as a different user. And if we run it as a different user, definitely a user who is an admin, because as you know, you won't be able to see all of these. Let's go to new 11. And this is new 11. This is the add-on message, blah, blah, blah. This one has no files. Keep writing. And then I go keep writing as new user. And then it should actually just post my picture and my name to differentiate the posts and then start it here. And the other thing I could do is basically I could put all of this in a colored box and then and do whatever I want from there. The other thing that I would do is just maybe add more room to the top of this. So let's go ahead and go rows 1, bring this down, bring this down, bring this up just a little bit to show that there's a difference between the earlier user and this user. And then the other thing that I'd like to do is basically add more rows to this. So in my design, the way that Bubble works, and this is really unfortunate, but if I have 2 rows here, Bubble is only, select first parent, going to load 2 rows, okay? And if it only loads 2 rows, I have to scroll down, select first parent here, just to give us a little bit more room and make everything fit, because as you can see, this doesn't fit in here, and so I think it's going to break the UI a little bit. Select first parent, bring this down. I just want a bit more room. And I'll show you the difference now that we can actually just control the amount of rows here. If I have just the 2 rows here, when I load this, it should only load 2, perhaps 3 rows, because that's how Bubble works. It'll look at it and it'll say, oh, you only have 2 rows, so you only need 2 rows for display in the repeating group. So let me load you your 2 rows, and then if you keep scrolling, we're going to load more rows. So 1, 2, and the extra one, but then there are more, and then there you go. Okay. All right. And somehow this has spaced everything out. Yes, because we need this line to touch here. Okay, so that's what happens if you have 2 rows. It'll load 3 records, and if we increase the number of rows, it'll increase the number of records shown right off the bat, keeping its basically height. So that's the trade-off. If I go like this and like this, and Bubble, this is sort of a call for you guys to take a look at this if you can, because if I go down 5, 4. And then I make sure that this line touches the bottom here just for UI reasons. Okay, I can go a little bit more. Normally I would just calculate the total height of my design cell, and then I would go times X and then add it to the thing. If I reload this, it should load more cells right off the bat. Whoops, I didn't want that. I wanted this. All right. it will load exactly. There you go. It loaded 5 of them, but there are still some as I keep scrolling. And that's a little bit of the caveat when you're using vertical scroll repeating groups. The other thing you could do, and the way that I like to do that to sort of fight this off, I'm going to go and just build out my 2 rows, or maybe even just a 1 row, and then I'm going to put it up to here. There it is. And then I'm going to do this, this, and then I'm going to do this. Normally you want to design it so that it fits properly, but in my case, I'm going to go full list on this one. And we're going to go items until number, and then we're going to go 5. Oh yeah. Oh, I remember doing this last time. So basically, the common UI is to have the newest message at the bottom and to appear here so you can scroll up as you go back in time instead of down. And the fact that Bubble doesn't accommodate this automatically is something I think that's been mentioned quite a few times and is going to hopefully be fixed in their redesign of the entire responsive system. But for now, what I have to do, I think I remember doing this a few times. You go items until number 5, but you have to search for and sort them by created date descending yes. And basically this says grab the newest ones first and go items until number 5. And then I have to resort them, sorted. And you sort by creation date descending no. Okay, so you look for them by created date sorted yes, and then you sort them again by created date descending no, and it should load 5 of the messages starting with the latest one. Does that work? Please work. Yep, so this is the absolute latest message, and this is the newest message. Now, I can go and I can't necessarily scroll, but we can use what Facebook used to have back in the day. Select first parent, which is a show older button. Control Z. Let's grab this first parent and let's drag this down to here a little bit. And we're only going to need like 60. So let's go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 is 25, 50, 60. And 60 is way too much. I don't know why I picked 60. Maybe 40. And then you grab a text, and then this text, I'm going to show you how to do automatically collapsing texts. We're going to do here, we're going to say show older, and then something. Okay? And then once we have this, we're going to be able to click on it and load more in here and basically scroll to the top. So this is me trying something a little bit new because I also want to scroll. And maybe we could do this. Scroll me. I don't know if this is going to work on the repeated group. I might have to create another container for this and make sure that it fits properly and make that container scroll. But I think I'm just going to do this for now and go HTML, put it in here and say style. This is definitely not for the newer Bubble users or people who don't know HTML. But if you're a front-end designer already, you can absolutely do this and assign different styles, like CSS styles, to elements you've already created. So this repeating group, I said, is called scroll me, and so in my HTML, I'm going to put this here. You can put this in your page headers if it is a paid app. I'm just doing this for you guys who are still on the hobby plan, but you can also put it either here in the page HTML header, or you could go to settings and then SEO meta tags. And I'm not going to show you that because there's some private information on that tab for this particular app. But you go settings and then you go SEO meta tags, and then you can add it to your site header as well, which appears on every page. So you could do that, but in my case, I'm just going to put it in the HTML. I'm going to go here. I'm going to go scroll me is going to have in overflow y of auto. And then we're going to go important because it has to override Bubble saying it's a full list. And then I think I might have to apply it to the parent, but we'll see. Okay, overflow y auto. Yeah, I have to apply it to the parent for reasons. Okay, let's go group this into a group. let's go here. And let's go select first parent. And this is going to be the overflow group. We're going to make it yellow, background style, blah, blah, flat color, and orange maybe. And then we're going to make the group scroll with the full list repeating group inside. And we're going to say this is going to be the scroll me. And make sure that you never have two IDs that are the exact same. IDs should be unique. Classes can be the same, but ID should be unique. And then we're going to go, okay, you're going to show all the items until 5. And then this will allow you to scroll if it needs to take up more room. So we're going to go scroll me, overflow, Y auto important. Let's see how that works and if that works. Because right now we should have all the room in the world. Here's the orange group. I see, because we have no messages, it shrank a little bit. And let's go name 1. That's the actual height I want, I think. And let's go new 11. Yeah, it did not work, did it? Let's go Q. And let's actually make sure that this scroll me exists. And let's go see its overflow. Y auto important. Right. It's overflow Y auto important, but bubble actually adjusts the height in real time. So what are we going to do here? What are we going to do here? We could set it to a fixed height. So what's your fixed height? 600. Okay, 600 minus what I need in the header. Select first parent. Okay, so let's just move this up here. And this is sitting at a Y of 77. And you go 600 minus 77. This is its height, 468. And then we're going to go 468 height important. Okay, let's see if that works. If this works, I'll actually be surprised. If it doesn't work, we're going back to vertical scrolling. So far, so good. You have the full height. You have your answer bar, which shouldn't appear because there's no messages loaded. But here it is. And yeah, it worked. That's great. But yes, bubbles R line made this happen. Because this orange group is actually supposed to be this high, and bubbles R line decided. Okay, so we're gonna stop liaising with this. We're gonna remove the HTML styles, and we're gonna go back to. I'm sorry about this failed experiment. I've done it in pop-ups before. It works a lot better, but in this case, it did not work for us. We're gonna go none here. We're gonna go vertical scrolling on this. And we're unfortunately going to have to go like this, and then we're gonna have to set the actual height for the rows. What happens if I go 2? Do they overlap? Or will they just not shrink because there's overlap? They overlap. Which is not horrible because they don't overlap too much, but in our case we're just gonna go like this, and we're gonna adjust this. What's your height too? Like this. And bring to front. I don't know if this works. No, it doesn't. We just have to go height 2 and then drag it down to where we want it. Okay, so that should work, but we only get to load 2 at a time, so users will have to scroll down to see more. It'll load 5 messages. And this one, that's the latest. Okay, and now the other thing we wanted to do was to add a show older messages up here if they find any older messages. And since this is 1, and it'll always appear at 1, we're going to go show older. And this will only appear if there are messages that are older. And then we go this, insert dynamic data, and we go, do a search for. This is a neat little trick. I use it sometimes. We're going to go do a search for messages, like support message. Whoops, I clicked away by accident. Do a search for messages, support message, and we're going to go whose parent is, and we're going to basically just grab the same thing as this. Hey, why is it not in there? Sent it back? Wow, where is that text? Sent it back. The whole group, grab the text, make sure it goes in there. There you go. And we're doing the search for support messages, and then we're going count, delete. Count is bigger than, if the count of the total messages is bigger than RG all messages list of support messages count, no, not count, yes, then this element, this will say yes, it'll say show older, okay? And then we can go, right now it's going to go formatted as text, and it's going to show a yes or a no. If there are more messages, it'll show yes, and if there aren't, it'll go no. And then we're going to add two RG all messages. We're going to go, not a contextual video, we're going to go add a new custom state, and we're going to go index number showing. Okay, state type is a number, and right now we start at 5. We're going to look for 5. And in our RG, we're going to go items until RG until, and then we should be able to go RG all messages index number showing sorted by creation date. Okay, so it starts at 5. It looks for all the messages. Okay, it sorts them by created date, newest first, so descending yes, and then it's going to show the number showings, so 5 of them, and it's going to resort them so that they're not sorted by created date. Okay, and then when I click on this, I basically just want to increase the number of messages showing because we want to show older, and we're gonna go set state of element RG all messages index number showing equals RG all messages index number showing plus 5. Now the caveat is I have to do set state element actions set state of RG all messages index number showing to be 5 every time I change this. Okay, every time I change the support ticket that's showing, I have to reset the index number showing to be to 5. Another thing that we could do when we click on here is element action scroll to a thing in a repeating group, scroll to entry, and then we can go RG all messages, and we can scroll to RG all messages list of support messages last item. I think that'll work. I hope that'll work. We're going to take a look at it, and then once we've done that, we're going to say yes, no, and this is going to basically, yeah, we don't want that. We're going to set, we're going to increase the number of stuff showing, and then we're going to also scroll to the top. So we're going to do the opposite. We're going to go element actions, repeating group, scroll to entry, element, RG all messages, entry to scroll to is RG all messages, list of support messages, item number 1. So every time we increase or decrease the number of entries that we show here, we're going to scroll to them. Okay? Let's go to new 11, and we did we, or we didn't have to scroll, but there are more items. So when I click on this, I should basically load more items, and it should scroll to the top, right? Did it do it? This is the oldest message, this is the newest message. Okay, so let's add messages until we go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's another message. And let's go 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Display that, and refresh the page. Now when I land on this page, it should basically show me in new 11, it should show me this, and at the bottom, and then I have a yes, so I should be able to click on this, and it should go and show me more messages and scroll to the top, right? Because I should have 10 messages right now. Let's go and inspect. Is debug mode equals true? No. And debug mode equals true. Not happening. Sorry, it's not N, it's question mark. Okay, and let's load it in again, and let's just see why it wasn't working. Here are 5 messages, and I definitely have some older ones. What I'd like to do, what I'd like eventually, is for bubble 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, I see. This will show all the time. This one only shows when current cell's index is 1. That's the only time I want this to be visible. Otherwise, not visible. And the other thing we're going to do is we're going to say format as text. We're going to cut off element if text is not long enough. No, not cut off. Sorry, the other way around. We're going to shrink, remove style. I think I have to remove the style to shrink. Did I? No, I didn't. So I can shrink it, and if I shrink it, it'll basically collapse down to 0 if there's nothing to show. And but if you're going to do that, you need to make sure that this text actually appears here. And in our case, we would need to make some adjustments, which we're not going to do right now. So we're just going to leave that like this. And we're going to go remove style, and we're going to go size 12 just to make sure that it fits. And we're going to remove center of the text vertically just so that it sits exactly on the top of the thing here, show older. Formatted as text, we're going to go show older. And then we're going to go fa, arrow up, break fa. And formatting for no is nothing, and if it's no, it'll shrink. Okay, so that all of this stuff will touch the top here. So let's go and make sure that also you need to make sure that it aligns to this here because of the way bubbles, our boxes work, and our lines work. Okay, are we good? So here are 5, show older. Here are 10, and there aren't any more, so that disappears here. These are all the messages we've sent to each other. And then the other quality of life improvement you could do is click on here, scrolls all over the bottom, but this is all UI stuff. For the back end, we pretty much nailed it. It's going to show 5 messages. This one has none. This one has, okay, right now I'm showing 1. I'm showing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then older. And it scrolls up until we don't have any more messages. Okay, and then you can style it to make it really clear to your user what's going on. But basically, you can keep scrolling up to show older messages. And everything will basically sit in this box right here perfectly. Okay, and now what were we going to do? If you have any requests, put them in the chat right now, and I'll do them right now. Or I'll answer questions. And if not, I'm going to show you how to set this up to auto-bind in just a few seconds. How long has the stream been so far? 37 minutes. Wow. Okay. Nothing in the chat? There are only 2 people on right now, so I don't expect people to ask too many questions, but I'll give it another 60 seconds, and if there are no questions, I'll sign off, and we will work on this again at another time. Let's see. Hey, and somebody else just signed on. Thanks for joining. We're just doing, unfortunately, I'm just wrapping up here. I'm just was wondering if there were any questions about the about what we built out today, which was basically setting up our messaging and such, and setting up the number of messages, and basically the limitations of doing backwards scrolling by bubble, and my best workaround. So you can enjoy the stream once it's up on the YouTube. And otherwise, I'm gonna end the stream now, and we're going to hop back on tomorrow. So everybody, thanks for watching, and thanks for those who watched live. Next time, feel free to participate. I won't bite, and I really enjoy the engagement. Basically, the more engagement there is, the longer the stream. And yeah, thanks for all the support on the channel, and we'll catch you on the next one.